Welcome. Thank you for joining me. You're not just a hairdresser, and I have fabulous Sarah with me here. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Vivienne. Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody.
So I'm thrilled Sarah's here. Sarah's actually going through a training right now. She's joining my artistic team. And Sarah came to me as a very talented salon owner and stylist and just wanted to learn and grow. And I thought today would be fun to just have her ask questions of me. She's now been able to work with me for a while. I've been able to enjoy watching Sarah blossom and grow, which is the best gift of all. And so I thought we would dive into a subject that I think many of you will really relate to and appreciate. How do you make your work look amazing in photography? And it's been something that's pushed me throughout my entire career. So today we're going to look at how to stand out from the crowd, the secrets to creating award-winning images. So Sarah, I know you've got your first question for me, so please go ahead.
Okay, so what was your first shoot like?
My first shoot was Polaroids. Does anyone here know what a Polaroid camera is? When it actually spits out the film right there. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Actually, they brought them back again as a fun sort of toy. So my first shoot was doing that. And I was with the famous, fabulous Mark Hayes, who still is the creative director for Sassoons in London. And Mark and I would do our little tiny shoots. And the reason it was a Polaroid is before that, when Mark and I did our first little shoot together as little amateurs, we got those cameras where the film is inside. So we took the pictures, we sent it to the chemist. And then a few days later, we got it back. And it was a disaster. Like some of it was black, some of it was overexposed. It was just a complete disaster. So it was very, very, very humbling. But what was interesting about the Polaroids, because I thought, right, if you don't know what you're photographing, I mean, we're so spoilt today, aren't we, with our phones? And there we're going to talk about the whole subject matter of taking great photos with your phones. But back then, you didn't know what you had until the film came back. And there is something magic about working with film. Like when I still work with photographers who do shoot in a format where they're using film, it's really amazing because it has a different texture to it. So the digital world, of course, has revolutionized everything. So you get to see immediately what you're creating. What was interesting about the very first time I journaled my work, and I'm a huge fan of journaling. So for guys, if you don't journal what you're doing, then you're missing some magical opportunities to learn, because the camera, I've always believed, is your best teacher. So I took some pictures of one day's set of clients, and I then afterwards put them all into a scrapbook. I didn't know there was such a thing as a portfolio. That came later. And I realized, Sarah, one dreadful thing. They all had the same hairstyle.
Were they all bobs?
No, it was sort of a layered thing. And some people looked good with it and some clearly didn't. But that was what was on my menu that day. It was a special. And everyone got that actually for months and months and months, because I found something I was comfortable with, what wasn't necessarily the right thing for my clients. So that, my friends, is lesson number one. When you journal your work, you then get to discover what works and what doesn't work. So my very first photo shoot professionally, I was thrown out at Sassoons to go on a very big job, and I had not a clue as to what to do. I had completely separated the hair, not only from the face, but from the rest of the body and the fashion. So I created my creation, and the photographer just looked at it and said, "What the hell is that?" And I'm thinking, it's a hairstyle. It's a very big hairstyle. It's a very grand hairstyle. And it took me a long time to do. He said, it's awful. Oh. And he said, it's got nothing to do with the fashion or the story. And I'm thinking, story? What do you mean story? And the word story is something we can apply to every single client that sits in our chair and to each and every one of you watching. Your story is your life. Your story are your values. Your story is your status. Your story is your character. Your story is your personality. And when you're doing an editorial, it is a story about the girl maybe wearing capri pants, say that 3 times, running along the streets in New York. Or there's a storyline there. It's not just fashion. it evokes an emotion and it tells a story about who that woman is, whether she's romantic, bohemian, rock and roll, etc. So that was the essence of that. So from that day forth, I realized, oh my gosh, I have no idea how to be on set. I better learn really, really fast. And I literally learned as I was evolving because there was nobody to teach me. And the genius today is that you don't need to go through that agony. Today you can be taught. But first of all, it's all about your phone. So I had a rough beginning, but I would say the best thing about it, Sarah, was it taught me immediately, wow, this is a totally different world. And if I can harness the skills, this is what you have to remember, my friends. If you take a great photograph yourself or your client does, or you work with a professional photographer, that photograph can work for you while you're asleep. That photograph can go anywhere in the world and open doors for you. So what we're going to be talking about today is building of your brand. What is your signature look? And today, and I was telling Sarah before we went live, it's so easy to copycat today. And I've been
or
playing.
try.
Yeah, or try to copycat. Yeah. And I've been trying to copycat things I've seen on social. And I've never been that sort. I can take an inspiration and then do my version of it. But I thought, no, put you on the back shelf, copy it literally and see what happens. And it's been very revealing. And we'll come back to that at the end of today's presentation. So we want to talk to you about how to stand out, but I thought we would start off here with this particular look.
Beautiful. So what was your inspiration for this collection?
Well, this collection, and I'm going to take you to the inspiration in a moment. This collection was definitely very Japanese inspired. And this particular picture I'm showing you right now almost did not happen because myself and this amazing fashion stylist, we were like at each other's heads. She didn't think this hairstyle worked. She didn't like it. She didn't feel it fit with the clothes. And she's a very major fashion stylist. The photographer is Julia Pogadina, an incredible photographer who I think an incredible human being. And I have such respect for Julia as a photographer and as an incredible woman. So when she brought the crew together, this amazing fashion stylist who was working with Harper's and major magazines. So she knew what she was talking about, this lady. But I had a vision. And I always say, surround yourself with the best of the best, but be a good listener. But in this particular case, I had a vision and I wasn't going to, resist the vision. And the fascinating thing, and I'm going to take you on a journey through the collection, is that when I was doing this, I started to wonder if the whole thing was a total disaster and it was going to fail. And I think what's really important, Sarah, is how you handle or how we handle failures, challenges, struggles, defeat, all the challenges that can come up every day in the salon, everyday life, and how we manage when things go wrong. And in the preparation for this shoot, a lot was going wrong. But the irony is, this is where it ended up. So I won the Masters North American Hairdressing Awards with this. And the inspiration of this, let's go to the very beginning, right? So what do you see when you see this, Sarah?
Warriors.
Yeah.
Japanese warriors.
And that was my inspiration. So if you look at the helmet here, this little helmet that you can see, you see all the tears in this helmet. Remember
the 3 layers.
Yeah. So remember this when I start to show you the imagery and look at the tears of this and look at how the head is flipping out. And look at this amazing twist. So this was where I began, but this is when it started to go horribly wrong.
So did you use, how many wigs did you go through in preparation for this?
I think the end shoot had about 12 images, but I went through a lot more. So when I was building the collection, I wanted to be sure that it was cohesive. And I wanted to be sure that the storyline of this made sense. You didn't want to all of a sudden a sensibility that didn't match this.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was going through here, I decided to put all of the mannequins. I was inside my studio. I put them all out the way you can see it now. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. This is absolutely awful. And so a lot of these never, ever ended up at the shoot. But from them failing, I found another idea. And I think that's the big thing. For example, this one here, this is a wig that I flipped upside down. And what I liked about this wig was that the front looks like a thatched broom, and it's actually the back of the wig. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I flipped the wig back to front. The model's own hair is at the side. That's her own hair. The hair pad that I made is sitting underneath that shape. Mm-hmm. And then I added hair extensions to the back, and I wanted it to be like a little thatched broom. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine going from this scary image on the right-hand side where it's going horribly wrong to getting her to here was pretty major.
Mm-hmm. And that was on set, you said? That happened on set?
No, this one I prepared this one I prepared before, because what's really important is that when you are doing something like this is that you have to first of all have a vision. You have to have an idea, a concept, and from that concept you've got to build. So sometimes you just a name can inspire you. So it could be imperial, it could be a shadow shape, it could be rockabilly, it could be a name of a movie, it could be a name of a piece of music, it could be a name of nature. So when you're coming up with the idea, that title is the umbrella for everything else. That's the title. So when you start to drift off to another sensibility or drift off to another sensibility, you can very, very easily miss the whole vision and the story concept. So I tried to get as much done as possible to be able to come up with this collection. But this one was exceptionally difficult because I had to put the red in the underneath. I had to get it to stand up like a little tiny broom. I had to cut it very precisely. And then whenever you're working on a ponytail and trying to get that broom effect, pieces can come out, and precision and a strong silhouette really is quite difficult.
Now, is that braiding hair that's on the top and then into the ponytail? You know, like that cheap braiding hair?
No, that was not. I crimped it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is where the cohesiveness of working with an amazing makeup artist, David Maderick. Mm-hmm. He didn't give me the kabuki look or the geisha girl look. And I did give him references of that. He went, Vivienne, really? Is that how original you are? And he said, I'm going to do yellow on her cheeks. I went, yellow blush? I thought she should have pink. Mm. And I thought she should look more doll-like with a white face. I went, that is so over the top. And so I went, okay. But what's important is the makeup doesn't take away from the look. So if you look at the makeup for a moment, she has a yellow cheek. She has a bronze eye. She has an incredible eyebrow. She has a nude lip. Now just imagine if she had a red lip and if she had over the top false eyelashes, everything would be fighting.
Is this the same model throughout the whole shoot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I would rather have one killer model than 4 average.
Mm-hmm. And do her eyebrows come in like that, or is that from the makeup?
Makeup.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was very difficult. This is 100% a razor haircut. Mm. And to try and get that bubble but bend in the back and the softness around the face. And I put red through here. I love coloring to a haircut. And while I'm not technically a colorist, I generally color my collections because I know exactly where I want to emphasize the shape. So let's take this to everyday reality. You've got a client sitting in your chair who's got a longer fringe and a longer facial frame. How sweet to give a shadow of red or a shadow of copper, whatever the color may be, on that edge, and then just have it peekaboo. You can take the most plain haircut and just bring it to life by some just interesting creative pieces and just break the monotony of, painting hair in the atypical way, because there's a wealth of creativity out there. And notice also the shape of the neckline, how that curve of the hairstyle and the curve of the neckline play around really very beautifully.
Now, is that a wig or a topper?
It's a wig.
Okay.
Yes, it's a wig. So this is the same hairstyle, just photo, again, I'm about, does it look good from many angles? And I just, again, wanted that drama. So my choice of the model was critical. If I'd taken a model with a fuller face or a romantic face or a very long face, would have been a disaster. She had an oval face shape. I could put anything on her. And beautiful nose, just a beautiful, beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So she lended that. And also she knew how to play the edge, the drama of the clothing, and how to wear it, not have it wear her.
Yes. I understand that now. After my first photo shoot and using a non-professional model, I completely understand how important it is to have a good model.
Yes.
My model was beautiful. She was a beautiful girl. It had nothing to do with her beauty or lack of beauty. It was all about, is she comfortable in front of the camera and can she move? And she couldn't, or she didn't know how, so that is critically important.
Well, there's, this is the thing that's really important about this, guys, is that when you cast a model, whether it be a story that you're running for a summer promotion, or whether it be whatever the idea may be, there are people that love the camera and the camera loves them back. And you always have to remember the camera sees things very differently. We have two eyes. The camera has one. And as the camera is looking at an image, it will always flatten an image, which is why we tend to look fuller in a photograph than we are in real life. So the camera sees things differently. So it can flatten out an image, and the valleys and the peaks and the depth within the hair can start to look very heavy and solid. So to get the airiness into a shape and get the depth into a shape is quite difficult to do. So my recommendation, when you're thinking, right, I want to up my game in how I take my photographs in terms of working with your phone, put a notice in your staff room saying, I'm looking for some clients who would love to model for me, who love doing selfies, who la. Do a description of what you're looking for. You can do a description of the age category, because you may be doing, i.e., beauty at every age. So you're looking for a 16-year-old, a 25-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 60-year-old. It can be beauty at every age. And so now you kind of look through the people and you think, who does the camera love? Right? And then you can start to work on your little story. And is the clothing color all similar? So there's a thread through the generations. Maybe everyone's wearing, I don't know, a soft blue. The environment doesn't change. So there's a constant through the story, but the characters have changed. So think about your casting for a movie, and you've got the movie set. There's many characters that come in, but they would fit the story of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's how you've got to kind of think of it, rather than that's just a pretty hairstyle. And obviously, when you have somebody that is not as friendly with the camera, sometimes it's a really great thing to actually have them do a selfie. So they're holding their phone and they're doing their selfie, and your phone is right by their side. So they may be doing their little poses and doing this and doing that, and you're right here taking a picture and taking a picture and taking a picture. And so you get more of a natural conversation, because you have to understand there's a difference between portrait and fashion. Portrait is just bringing out the personality of the character, the person. Fashion is what we're talking about right now. Fashion and beauty is what we're talking about right now. Yeah. So it's very, 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 very different. So like when we go back to the collection now, obviously I said to you, do you remember the tears in the clothing? So now you can see where that inspiration came from.
Okay, so then what did you use to create that the thickness of those sections? And are you using multiple wigs and toupees and things? Like, how did you create that?
This was mini crimped. So it's a wig, and
Okay.
I crimped. I did an asymmetric bob line, and then I did another asymmetric line. And what was important was that all the angles be in balance with each other, harmony. You see, this is obviously quite avant-garde, but it's not a
Right.
tree growing out of the head. But the principles of balance and proportion and rhythm, if you look through it, they all are very, very cohesive in the way that they stack together. And just for a moment, going back to the inspiration and looking here for a moment, I mentioned the tiered effect that you can see in the clothing. So it's taking that concept and saying, right, how am I going to go from there to here? How am I going to take that inspiration? And because this is important, because it's so tiered, you see how minimal the clothing is. So now that it's not fussing, the gap between the hair and the shoulder, sometimes the biggest mistake people make is they overdo because they're trying so hard, they don't know when to stop. And you've got to be a good editor and say, stop. And what can you take away? What can you take away? Not what can I add and add. It's like, well, how do I reduce this to have the wow factor? Because if I threw 20 ping pong balls at you, would you be able to catch any of them?
Maybe a couple.
Then you're good.
If they hit my hand in the right way.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I know I wouldn't be. I'd be like trying to catch every single one of them, and I'd end up catching none. And I wouldn't even see it. There'd be so much going on, so much visual stimulus, right? But if you
so what would you suggest for an average stylist who's looking to learn more about editorial?
Well, you've just got to start, and we'll go into that at the very end. You've got to start simple. You start with photographing your own work, and you have to be very critical of the composition and making sure that the story of that look is amazing. And while I understand the back of the hair can be stunning, and most of the hair is in the back, obviously, like 3/4 of our hair lives behind our ears. We've only got this panel and this top part that we're actually seeing from the front, from the ears back, crown, ears back. We don't see any of that. That's where most of our hair is. I get that. And I think it's really nice when you can photograph the back. But I also think it's beautiful to show a woman's face and to show your level of good taste. And what is good taste? I mean, how would you define good taste?
Well, I define good taste as something that's very pleasing to my eye. The good taste is something that is done well and simple and concise.
So for myself, because taste is subjective, it complements. It doesn't compete, it completes. That to me is a huge thing. And when you do something that's very tasteful, it withstands the passage of time. It transcends a gimmick and a fad and a trend. So if you have long shelf life, there are classics within that design, even the avant-garde, that withstand the passage of time because there's a cohesiveness. So instead of adding more and more and more, it's less and less and less. And again, look at the posture of the girl, look at the positioning, look at the hair now moving and animated. And there's something magical about hair moving versus hair being static. So this is a whole different vibe to when the hair is moving. So this one here, this was a real challenging one, which I mentioned before. So this, this is all the model's hair in the front, all of her own hair. And at the red piece is a huge long weft of hair that I spun around and I made a headband. Inside this amazing texture, this is a pixie wig that I cut. And inside there is padded. So she's got a pixie wig that's padded with a twist with her own hair in the front, which gives it that really kind of very cool effect. And it just brings the whole drama in. So you can see I've got an amazing shape. Again, look at the way it's been styled. the bell sleeves, the movement that is going through here. You can see as she's moving her arms, the movement in a photograph will always work really well. So for example, when you're working with your client, sometimes the simplest thing to do is have them be seated with really nice light and just have them look down and then look up, or have them look away and come towards you. Just simple things so that there's some movement in the photograph versus I'm going to take a picture and they're like breathing through the mouth, relaxes the jaw. If you've got a client that's got a bit of a chin going on, bring the head forward. If you bring the head forward, you will be slimmer through here. When you bring it back, right? So
I'm not even going to do that. I'll just stick with this.
Yeah. So the moment, I mean, I don't have a double chin, not yet. But if I do, it'll be cut off. Or you'll see me one time and you say, Vivienne, you do a lot of smiling. And I'll say, no, it's just that facelift. They pulled it too tight, right? Or I'll be Botox so much, right, that I'll say to you, you know what, I am smiling, but the Botox doesn't
let me.
Whatever. But there are tricks to play with that make it really amazing. So when you're going through here, this one was very challenging because this one, you've got all the geometry and making sure that the hair, anyone who's photographed a bob, the bob must look good on the outside and the bob must look good on the inside. So as I was cutting the outside, I was cutting the inside, outside, and just making sure that it was really strong. And then, to get that drama into the hair and the weight of the hair, the fatness of the hair, the heaviness of the hair. If you've got slippery, flimsy hair, it's moving. That's its feature. That's not what you want here. You want it to hang. Right?
And then if it moves, it has to move fluidly in that line.
Yes. So here I went more literal in the samurai. I gelled, I put some gel on the hair and I wefted it. So that became, quite interesting. And then I cut the pieces through there. That's so Christopher's saying that's the whole vision on how to design a haircut for a woman with fullers and Botox. Love it, Christopher. Lindsay, hi. Sharon, hi. Misty, thank you for being with us for today. Really appreciate it. So this one was a combination of different textures. And again, look at the fashion. The fashion supports this. The fashion could have made this go wrong. The makeup could have made this go wrong. The model could have made this go wrong. The lighting, the light on the face and where the shadows are placed. A great photographer. To make a beautiful picture, it is an amazing model, an amazing photographer, incredible makeup artist, amazing fashion stylist, and good hair. Those are your 5. That's your dream team. And so therefore, when you're doing your own shoot, it's really nice to have somebody come in. Like if you've got a relationship with a clothing store and just say, you know what, I've got some really wonderful clients coming in. Could we just, use some of your clothes for a photo shoot? Would you mind coming in to make sure the clothes are correct? So she's looking at the clothes so you can look at the hair. Because when you're so busy looking at the hair, you can miss things. And you need to look at everything. And that's what's important. So yeah, this one was interesting. This one was around balloons. So what I did here was I blew up balloons and then I laid the hair around the balloons. And then once it was set, I then burst the balloons. It's a real old trick. I'm not the creator of it. I think Trevor Sorby, my former boss and my hair hero, I think he was the first one that I think I ever saw do that. But again, I wanted the architecture and I wanted the hair hanging down. And again, it has that Japanese vibe. But look again at the simplicity of the clothing. So this is where you have to have discernment. Less is always more. And at the end of the day, the big thing about this is where it takes you. So this was an award that I got at the Alternative Hair Show. And the most exciting thing about this is standing by the side of Annie Humphreys, the greatest colorist in the world. And to stand by her side was pretty amazing. But what I want to tell you, it's nice to have a goal and it's nice to get awards. But at the end of the day, they are collecting dust. But my memories, my experience, my challenges, my frustrations have made me who I am today.
Yes. And so what would you say the return on investment is then when you spend all that, like how much you spend and then how, like how much does that photograph work for you in the future?
Well, photo shoots can come in at all different price points because it depends on how they're being used. And that is a huge aspect, usage, and who your crew is. Obviously, when you work with really high level people, you're going to get a better story, but you've got to up your game to match their level. So you've got to be very mindful of testing. You've got to be mindful of just photojournaling, which I'm going to take you to in a moment. And as you can see here, this is in my studio where I host private events, and I'm taking photographs of what the kids are doing, and I'm just doing it with an iPad. So I'm doing that. So it's very important, number one, to set up a space within your salon, whether it's just an overhead light that is just a pretty soft light. It's very important to have that lighting effect where it's a beautiful light. Beauty light is even. It's not light coming in from a window. It's even light.
That's a ring light.
Yeah, a ring light is even, but you can have the bigger the source of light, the softer the image is. When you have smaller lights, they cast shadows. So you have to know, can that face look gorgeous with a shadow or not? So number one, have a beautiful light. Number two, you've got to spend time. So if you know you've got some clients that are photogenic, try and book them in at the end of your day and ask them, would you mind coming in with a couple of outfits? Would you mind even like if you could go to Macy's and just get your face done by one of the cosmetic girls? You could do all of those kind of things just to have your client come in with makeup on, with a couple of nice outfits. You do a gorgeous hairstyle, you photograph her. She's got great pictures right now to show off. Doesn't she want them? You take some with her phone, you take them with your phone. You can make what you want of this, right? And you asked an important question, cost and return on investment. So for example, a photo shoot, I've worked on photo shoots for clients. The most I've ever, the highest shoot was, it came at 300,000, which was 2 days, still and video. That's a high ticket. Now, if you're 5 minutes over, that's very expensive. Do the maths on 2 days, and when it goes into time and a half. So I really, when I'm working for a client, think, right, I must finish on time because money is critical there. So for example, Sarah came and did a photo shoot workshop with us, did a phenomenal job.
The best.
And we finished at 4:30, but we were slotted to finish at 6 because we were so organized and well prepared. So a photo shoot, the average photo shoot can come in at 5,000 to 10,000 because you've got to pay all those people. And listen, you can do it for free, but free is different.
Free is different. I mean, definitely you get what you pay for. You do. Absolutely. I mean, it's a universal law. It's a universal law. And when I did my little test shoot, I should have known, but I learned what it's solidified.
Yes, yes. So Christopher's saying he's photographing his work. Hi, Oksana, great to have you here. So for example, this did not cost me anything other than my time. So last week I started to journal, and I did this hairstyle, and I was just myself photographing it. So I'm looking at my lighting, I'm looking at my composition, I'm looking at the balance. I'm looking now at how can I make this as interesting as possible. It's just me taking photographs of my work, training my eye. Does this hairstyle look good? every single angle. Does it really, really work? And the goal was, it must look amazing from every single angle. Otherwise, I have failed as a hairdresser.
It's beautiful. I like looking at it.
Oh, well, thank
Makes me
you.
smile.
So here we just did a workshop. We did a long hair styling workshop. And if you want to purchase the workshop, you can. We just launched it. It's on my website. But we did, these were the 2 hairstyles that we did. So I thought, right, let's play around with the background. So I just removed the background that I had in my studio. And I thought, okay, so she's a little bride and she's in some vineyard in a wooded area, or she's on the beach, or she is in this beautiful, very clean setting. So just by changing the background, I changed the emotion of the mood. Mm-hmm. And this is a mannequin that I just styled, and I photo journaled the journey. So the big important thing here is that you can start right now in training your eye. And that's what's really, really important. What I know, Sarah, about so many times when I work with hairdressers that say, well, I want my work. I want to be earning more money. I want to be known as the best in town. I want to elevate my brand. I want to be more creative. I want. I go, great. Now then, are you prepared to fail? Mm-hmm. Because you will fail, mm-hmm. and you'll stand up, and you will fail and you'll stand up. I have failed so much in photo studios. I've cried in a photo studio. I've gone into the bathroom sobbing in a studio. I've left a studio saying I'll never do hair again. I'm done. I'm going to quit. I've had some of my best experiences in my career and my worst, mm-hmm. because what I tried to do failed. So now when I'm going into a studio, trust me, I practice. And how do I practice? I practice on a mannequin head, so that when I go in, I'm more well prepared. Now, what can happen? The model doesn't show up, and you get a different model. The client says that they want one thing, then they change their mind. You have to be pliable and flexible, and you have to say when it doesn't go well, I know you don't like this right now. Please tell me what you're looking for, because all I care about is giving you exactly what you want. Sometimes these art directors don't know what they want. They know what they don't like, but they're still struggling with what they do like. Usually you have photo references and you're trying to either recreate them. And guys, how many of you, and I was speaking to Sarah about this earlier, you go out and you see this amazing thing on social media and you think, oh my gosh, I'm going to recreate that. And maybe you see like trick, 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 point, 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 done, flip, 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 turn, snip, 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 cut. And you go, whoa. And you watch it 30 times, you go, whoa. And then how many of you have actually tried to recreate it, and you can literally carbon copy and recreate it?
Well, and I said the only thing I've been able to do is braids, like when it's something simple that you're following on a video, but the prep is so important. And that's the part that's always skipped because it's not glamorous. It's not fun, but it is the most essential part of doing hair. And so there's no authenticity in those videos. And so I was doing a lot of that, a lot of copying and stuff when I went to first see you in the Hamptons for the hands-on class. And then that's when I realized, like, I want something authentic. I want authentic learning experiences that are full, that are complete, that are well-grounded. And so, I mean, what you are doing for our industry is basically like keeping everybody real.
Yes,
because it's this, we live in a real world and we do real hair on real people.
Yes, and
that's what's happening.
It's crazy. Yeah, Christopher's making a comment about the filters, and of course now AI when they're not even a real person. So it is true, but you know what, guys? That's why I've created a photographic workshop, and it's a big ticket because photo shoots cost money. Renting a studio in Manhattan, bringing in a top New York crew. Sarah was part of this journey. And so we are going to host our next one in June. And it's not just come to do a photo shoot. We do virtual Zoom sessions before where you're part of the model selection, you're part of the storyboard. We rehearse, we practice before I meet you in Manhattan. We practice the hairstyles so that on the day before the shoot, we're practicing. You get to work with Joseph Cartwright, who's incredible. And he teaches you how to use your phone and understand lighting. And then the day of the shoot, the magic happens. And after the shoot, we do a complete, okay, how are we going to make money out of this? Which awards are we going to enter? Which magazine is this going to go in? And we go down that rabbit hole. And then from there, you have access to my other boot camps that I do. So while this is a very concentrated period of time, you actually have access to so much more where we can work together for the rest of the year, because I have other courses that you're included in. So it's a really jam-packed experience. Sarah, for you, what was your experience for doing this?
Oh my gosh. Well, the experience was working at with such high level people and trying to raise my standard to meet that or be a part of it, at least, just to like show up. I felt very challenged, but in the best way. I feel like I grew personally and professionally. I feel like I learned to understand how I work, and then also confidence. It gave me confidence in many ways. And if I could, I'm trying to see if I could make this work to do the next one too, just because I feel like there's always something more. Like, even though you get all these stuff, you collect all these gems and all these nuggets, there's still more gems and nuggets to get, so I'm manifesting that I can do it again. It's on my birthday. So that's
well, then we should.
But I am building a house too. And so that, we're committed to that.
Yeah. Well,
but I would say that it was one of the best things, one of the best experiences of my career. It was so fun and educational.
Yeah. And the nice thing about this is for the next one that we're going to be doing, you'll be published in a magazine, which is always beautiful. You'll be able to enter One Shot, which is with Behind the Chair, which is a wonderful competition. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you'll be able to enter NAHA, Team NAHA. So there's lots of things where you said with the cost and the return on the investment. The cost can be very high emotionally. The cost can be very high physically. Mm-hmm. The cost can be high financially. It can be high. But the return on it can be extraordinary. Mm-hmm. Because your work can go to places that you've never been. Mm-hmm. You set yourself above the norm in a very crowded marketplace. The journey to go there and how you cope with it's not working. Okay, press forward. It's not working. Press forward. I've had so many challenges in that world when, for example, just with the little one here that I just showed you, when I was doing this, I thought this was a load of rubbish. And I actually had a conversation going on inside my head saying, Vivienne, you're crap. This is just so not working. And at the end of the day, I photographed it and I walked away and said, you need to have a bit of a talk with yourself right now. And then I came back the next day and I thought, well, maybe it's not quite so bad. But I was, instead of looking at what was right, I was looking at what was wrong. Mm-hmm. And, perfectionism is the cruelest form of measurement because perfect doesn't exist.
It's impossible.
Yeah. So when you're always, I have a sharp eye. I recognize beauty and I love originality. And I get so bored when I start to see the same thing, because there's a couple of things. Number one, you consider the table of success way too long, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing is you've got to be able to reinvent yourself and say, like, where am I going next? Where am I going next? And Christopher's saying, yeah, the inner mm-hmm. saboteur will get you every time. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right, Christopher. So you have to have that healthy balance of ambition and contentment, mm-hmm. ambition and gratitude, ambition and love, ambition and don't get boring. Because I promise you, if you're boring in your work, chances are you could be boring in your marriage, boring with your kids. You're just the boring because you're not growing. The happiest
right.
people in the world are those who embrace progress.
Mm-hmm.
progress in your marriage, progress with your children, progress.
I would say openness. Openness is the door to all of that. You know, if you're not open and everything is always, nope, not for me. Nope, not for me. Not the right time. You know, I'm too busy, like whatever. If just being open to the space of maybe that's possible. Maybe I could do that. And I can say this, and Misty's on this, I saw her in the chat. Every single person that went to your training, the photographic training, was changed by it.
Yes.
That is, and it was really amazing.
Yeah, they were. So guys, I hope you found this interesting to kind of do a little dive. I wanted to just start introducing you to the people that I'm training so that you can get to see who they are. To go to my world, for those of you who don't know who I am, you can go to Instagram. It's my name. Everywhere it's just my name. It's nothing fancy. It's just my name. So that's where I live, on Instagram, on Facebook, and that is that. And anything you'd like to ask just as we're wrapping up, Sarah, or anything you'd like to comment on?
Anything I would like to add? I don't have anything. I usually do. I'm just so grateful.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I mean, I feel grateful that you are an innovator and that you continue to level up the industry and help all stylists in the industry. Anyone who is interested in learning, you will lift up if they're open to it. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
So guys, share this link with your friends. It's always about giving back, isn't it? Who can you inspire today? Who can you just say, well, I think this will be, get you thinking about things. Everything's translatable, right? So Oksana, great to see you here. And so guys, you know, if you really feel that you want to up your game in the world of photography, if you want to up your game, whether it's on your phone or you'd want to be part of Team Naha, anything like that, this is an amazing opportunity, and it spills over into everyday reality and it separates you from the crowd. Sarah, thank you so much for being with me today. It was so much fun. Thank
you for having me.
Yeah, more fun to have a friend than be alone. So thank you so much. Guys, have a wonderful week. Thank you so much. And until next time, take care and bye for now.
Bye, everyone.